Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. Just a continuation of the rules instructions for Struggle Board Gaming's Global War 1936. And we're just going to take a look at a couple of things quickly here to start things off. The order of play is pretty important here, and regardless of when you start, you're going to start Germany and Russia, Japan, Great Britain and all their allies, France and Free France, Italy and the US. Now you look at France and Free France and you're thinking, what's going on there? Well, in 1936, France actually has a decent amount of stuff on the board, and they're not at war yet. So they have the possibility of building up quite an impressive little force before everything kind of hits the fan. So it's important just to note, though, that France and Free France is able to marshal its troops a bit, which adds a bit of a spice to it, to the game. Now, if you start in 1939, they're just not going to have that sort of punch, but it's the exact same order for countries. And the turn order chart here, the phases of each turn, are pretty much the same as all other Axis and Allies types games. Again, this is not Axis and Allies affiliated at all, but very much mirrored on that system. Now, what I want to look at here is the fact that in 1936, the countries are pretty much at peace. There's not too many countries that are at war, and if we look here at the income and production chart, and we focus over here, we see the scenario, 1936 and 1939, they're at peace for the United States. And so their starting money is pretty low there in 36, only making $6. It's their starting income, and in 39 they're making $10 more. Then you have the wartime income, which is 63. Now we've seen this before in other games where America doesn't have much of an economy until they get into war. But there are some things that will help them make more money as the war draws closer, and this is called the Peacetime Bonus income, and they have this chart here that shows you what they get. So basically Japan figures very largely in this. They start doing things, they get some neat stuff. A big one is when Japan declares war on Great Britain or France, 5 D12s get rolled, and up and up and up it goes. Germany also, they've got a few, and even Italy, when they declare war, that'll help move it up. Okay? But the important part to remember is, in brackets there, it cannot exceed the wartime income. And the wartime income, of course, is 63. Okay? They do get one wartime bonus in this game, and that is the green box here, wartime bonus. If they control all of the United States of America, lower 48s of course, they get 12. So should Japan go grab the Aleutians or Alaska, Attu and Kiska are also represented on the map, just more of the Aleutian chain. That doesn't figure into that bonus, and neither does Hawaii. Now if we take a look at Germany, Germany's is a little different in that they are at peace in 36, making some decent little coin there, $20. But in the 39 setup, they are at war. Okay, and the wartime income is the same as the regular income. They do have wartime bonus incomes far greater than America as far as numbers go, and a little bit higher as far as total. I think they can make 15 instead of the 12. So they can make a little bit more. But Germany, you might be thinking, okay, they only have the $24, possibly 20 in 1936, and the Americans here have 63. That doesn't seem fair. No, it really isn't, but of course Germany has access to far more money by taking over large swaths of Europe, which they do with some glee. And they also start with just more steel and men, and just more planes and whatnot, more punch, so they don't need to build up the force. It's given to them to start. And then on with Japan. And Japan's chart, we've looked at the other ones here, so this should be no surprise to you here. make some decent coin there in 1939. A little light in 36. But again, they get peace bonus income. Okay. And it starts at 3. And of course, when they do bad things to China, America starts to take away any sort of financial aid, which is very realistic, of course. And then the wartime bonus income, they can make a little bit more here. Again, remembering that they have access to a lot of money on the mainland and all throughout the South Pacific, so they don't need as much of a helping hand on the charts as, say, America does. Each of these boards, these sheets, also have the overview, and they give you a bit of a story of the country and what some of the key terms are. We look at America here, we're talking about the Monroe Doctrine. That was a big thing. You know, the peacetime actions, they got some real constraints on them. Alright, and this is a big one. This is new. USA surrenders if Washington, D.C., Chicago, New York, and San Francisco are captured. Now, obviously, long shot for that, but hey, if you can capture those 4 as Japan or Germany or Italy or what have you, then that's going to spell doom. Japan, very much recognizable things that they need to do. They are, in 1936, as we see, they are at peace, but in 1939 they're at war with the Chinese, nationalist China and communist China. Okay. That's about all I wanted to say on that, so we will move along. Okay, so we're going to talk about national relations here, and this is a bit of a tricky thing as you first go through it, because the wording is very, very key, and once you get the vocab down, it actually becomes quite simple to understand. So we're just going to work on the vocab first. A major power, those are the ones that we all know and love. The big 7, and the minor powers are things like both Chinese factions, the communists and the nationalists, and then you're going to have your Republicans and your nationalists over in Spain for now. There could be more, and there definitely will be more as time goes on, but those are minor powers. The 3 alliances I've spoken of already, and you can see them here. There's the Allies, the Axis, and the Comintern. It's basically the Soviets and Communist China, and the Republicans in Spain hopefully are able to hang on to give Russia a foothold there, but should they lose, then it's just down to the Soviets and the Communist Chinese. Now, there are some different aspects to the relationships between these all of the countries, and there are many different countries on the board, and we're just going to flip to a very handy chart here. The alliances have those well, I'll flip back here. These are the alliances that you have. Okay, so if we focus on let's say the Axis, Germany, Italy, Japan are an Axis alliance. Okay, but they also control the nationalists in Spain. Okay, the Allies, you got your British Commonwealth, France, and the US, and they control Abyssinia, the French do, and nationalist China. That's America. Okay, and then finally we got the Comintern. Soviet Union is the major power. They control the Spanish Republicans in 36 and communist China in all aspects of the game. Okay, so that's what they control. Okay. So as we look at this this page here, we see that there's an alignment. If you're a member of the same alliance, you're aligned when you're at war with the same major power. Okay, and then minor powers align to major powers under certain conditions, which we'll talk about in a bit. But once minor powers are aligned, they become fully part of the major power. So you will take over and run their stuff. But that happens once everybody's at war here. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay, neutrality. Okay, everybody's at neutral until they're at war with another major power. Now that's even if the minor powers decide to fight each other, okay, which can happen. So when the minor guys start slugging it out, that does not necessarily draw in the major 7 powers, the big 7, okay? And there are some stipulations here that if there is a neutral nation, major powers cannot fly over them. So that really does put a hamper on things, because there are a lot of neutral nations until they are actually at war, especially in 36. So you do have to take note of that. Take note that you cannot fly over neutral nations. They have to be aligned with a major power. And in Europe, that's typically, not always, but typically going to be Germany or Italy. So just be ready for that. Now control. Okay, control is an important part of the game. That happens, an actual player will now be able to control the units. Select casualties, move units inside the home country, produce things if they have a decent enough economy. Okay, do all that kind of stuff. But you can't declare war with that minor nation. Okay. Now if somebody else declares war on that nation, and we'll talk about that in a second, then you can get control and start to really go to town on them. But we'll talk about that in a second. So you got neutrality, pretty hindered on a lot of things you can do. Okay, and then you got control, where one of the big 7 will take over production and the movements inside their territory and at sea. And then we have alignment. Now major powers will align with members of their alliance when they're at war with the same major power. So you have these alliances, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily aligned. You have to wait until you're at war. Okay? So that's an important distinction that you need to understand. You are not aligned until you are at war with the same guy. The enemy of my enemy, so to speak, even though you're not really enemies. But France and Britain might be in an alliance, but they're not actually aligned until they're both at war with the same major power. Okay, it's got to be a major power. They can't both go beat up on, Eritrea or something. Okay, it's got to be one of the big 7, and obviously it has to be somebody not in your alliance. Okay, now this handy-dandy chart, okay, tells you what you can do, can't do, and when certain things happen. I'm not going to belabor that too much, but the example they use here is very good too. You can pause it, but I'm also just going to tell you that U.S. or USSR and Germany aren't at war, but then the Russians decide that they're going to go and take Kars here. So the Soviets come in here and take Kars. Instantly then, Turkey is now under Axis control. Okay? And now on Germany's turn, they can actually move all the troops that are inside here, set them up however they want. They can use the money to produce units in Turkey and all that sort of things, no problem. But Germans cannot move troops in here. Okay, it's a very important distinction. They can't move any troops into there, okay, because Germany and the USSR are not at war. Alright, so it's very important to understand. They can't go in there until they're at war, because Turkey is still neutral. Even though they've been invaded, they're still neutral. Okay? Now, what happens is on Germany's turn, Germany can declare war on the USSR, and now Germany aligns Turkey with itself, and it'll now command everything that the Turks have, and resources and all the rest, and that's assuming Turkey has not fallen completely by that time that happens. Then the Germans can move through, do all the stuff they want to do there. Now hopefully that makes it clear enough for you, but it's just very important that you understand neutrality, control, and alignment. Okay, alignment is basically that's when you're at war and things are really flying. Okay, and this tells you who actually gets to control. Assigning alignment and control All right, to any allies in the Western Hemisphere, the USA player will take care of them. Everybody else, which I guess means the Eastern Hemisphere, is the Commonwealth. All right, so essentially the Americas, North and South America, the US will control, and the rest of the world, the Commonwealth. They will join the Commonwealth realm, sphere of influence, I guess. Here is Siam becomes Japanese because, as we all know, Siam is right there, very close to the Japanese area. So they become Japanese aligned. Again, once Japan is at war at the same time as anyone that's attacked Siam, they're at war. And the same thing with the Comintern, everybody goes to the USSR. So the Japanese get Siam, Italians get nothing, and Germany gets everybody else. Alright, so that's how those things work. Hopefully that was clear enough for you. You can put any comments, questions that you want down below, and I will try to clarify anything that may not have been clear enough for you. They talk about some specific alignment conditions that we have here, and I'll just put this here and then you can pause it and read it. Okay, and these are axis alignment conditions, and again you can pause that and read that, and that is everything there. And the last thing is for the Comintern and the Republicans over in Spain. Alright, well, hopefully that helps you folks out, and we'll talk to you about something else soon. Take care.